Hey y'all, I am back and I am going to be talking about Netflix Haunted Season 2. I'm not 100% sure on which episode this is because I think I lost the order and I wasn't writing it on my paper. This one is just called Born Cursed. It's quick thing. I noticed last season, everybody who they had in these stories, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, were Caucasian. But this season, they have a Filipino family, and the one with Born Cursed is a Hispanic family. Mexican, yes, Mexican family, but Hispanic, whatever. So, Born Cursed. The story is being told by this guy. He said that his mother, they had moved from Mexico or whatnot. But before he was born, his mother, they have the white magic and the dark magic. And his mother practices, I don't know if she actually practiced light magic or whatever, but before he was born, she was cleansed. And then they show how she was laying in a circle with stuff on her belly, and then they killed a chicken and blood was all over her. It's like that looked like a cleansing, but I mean that's not my religion, so I'm not gonna talk about it. So anyway, from there, he said that he was born with a cull, which means he had an extra layer of skin over him when he was born. And some people say that that is like can be either seen as a curse or a blessing. In this case, I believe it was a curse because of the story he tells. Um, so he says when he was walking down the streets with his mom, he's walking around. He had wandered off from home, and I guess he went down. It was daytime. He had went down some like alley or something or whatnot. He said he lived in a really rough neighborhood. I can't remember where they said they lived. It was in the United States, but I just can't remember where he said he lived. Um, he goes down and he sees this man, and the man is clearly like something's wrong with this man. His neck looked broken, and he had a noose or something, a rope around his neck or whatnot, and he had like this real weird, sinister grin, like or whatnot. And then he was like, the man was saying, "You can see me, you can see me." So I guess he was like, this spirit or whatever it was like, oh, he can tell that this boy is receptive, I guess, of spirits or something like that. So he said from there, and then his mother finds him. He's like, "What are you doing? Out. Bring your ass in the house." He said from there, that night, the man appeared in his bedroom, and then he said from then on, that man was in his bedroom every fucking night. I was like, I would never. What? Like, and he was like, he was so terrified. I'm like, he's like, I could barely ever sleep because his brother slept in the room too. And I'm like, every fucking night, you ain't gonna talk to him. It's like, I mean, after a while, like, I don't know, but he said that this lasted 4 years. And then he said when he was the family went on a vacation back to Mexico, and then he said that there was they were doing a celebration of something, and then uh in the parade, a car had ended up hitting a group of clowns, and then one of the clowns, I guess, was killed or something. But then the clown or whatever took the face of that man, the hangman that he saw, that's what he calls him, and then he had the clown uniform on, and he was doing that smile. But this time it was him, his cousin, and I think his brother, and they all saw him. So they ran and they went home and they were scared. And from there, they were in their room or something. They were upstairs, and then they come down and they see the clown or the hangman sitting in their grandfather's house, and then it chases them up or whatever. And then they run and hide, and then the grandfather hears like the screaming, so he comes with his gun, and then it shows the hangman or clown man, whatever, look over the banister and then at the grandfather. So I'm like, did the grandfather see him too? He never was clear about that. So he was like, and then from there, the man was gone, but it killed their dog. And then he was like, oh, that dog was just our great dog. The dog was like our protector. Apparently, the dog wasn't protecting you that great because the man been with you for all these years, but he just said that he knew that spirit followed him from from where he was to Mexico. So it was like it went with him, and he was like he just didn't know what to do. And then years passed, and his father bought a house down the street from where they were living, and he's like, as soon as he got there, oh, he him knowing that now this entity or whatever can actually touch the living, he was terrified because he's like, I was never afraid because it couldn't of something that couldn't touch me, but this is something that can touch or kill, kill the dog. So now he was more afraid. I'm like, okay. Because he's like, I guess just first it was just a visual, but now this is something that can touch you. So he said once they moved to the new house, he was in like one of his closets or something, and the man like hit him or choked him out or something. And then he was just like so terrified or whatnot. And he ended up seeing later that the man was standing over his brother while his brother was sleeping, like caressing his face, and he said that he was going to kill his brother. And he was like, he was so depressed at this time point. He's like a teenager. He's like, he was so depressed and he was so scared because he didn't know what to do. He was like, so he took a whole bunch of pills, I think, or some cough medicine or something to try to commit suicide so he could save his brother and his family because he didn't want the hangman to get them. So from there, he says he took that and he woke up in what he perceived to be as hell. It was a butcher's room, and it was animal body parts, human body parts all over. And he heard screams and all that. And I'm like, that's how you perceive hell, as a butcher's room with torture, I guess. And then he sees the broke neck smiling man. And then he was like, you know me, you know who I am, or you've always known who I am, or some shit. And I'm thinking, like, who is he? And I thought at the end of the episode they was going to tell me or something, but no. And then he said from there, when he tried to kill himself and he came back from hell, apparently, he never saw this hangman or nothing from, again, he's like, from there, I lived a normal life. I had kids and a wife and blah, blah, blah. But he was like, I'll just never forget that because it was just so crazy or whatnot. And then, like, to me, I was wondering, I'm like, well, who is the man and what was it? I thought he did some research or something, try to figure out who the man was. Not like he had much information on him. He just knew what he looked like. But from there, he says he is kind of afraid because he's hearing from his children that that they're seeing something that was similar to what he was seeing. But when they go off to his children and the reenactment, it's like a woman though with the smiling face, and it was ugly. It's kind of creepy faced thing. So this one was kind of short. So I will just go and talk about the last story it's not the last one in the thing. I think that was the last one, but this one is somewhere in there. It's called Demon of War. It's this dude. It comes from a family of legacy where his father and his father and his father, they all were in the military. His father had something that I forgot what, Army, Navy, or something, but he had this Medal of the Bronze Star. His father was in World War II. No, grandfather, World War I, II, and Vietnam or some shit. So he goes off, and this is like, present day. So he went off to the war in Afghanistan, and he speaks about how he just wanted to, make sure that he was, the best, and try to one up his old man and make him proud and make his family proud or whatnot. And he just talks about, the casualties and all that stuff, and of war and all the horribleness of it. And then he speaks on one thing where he was like, it was just getting so crazy. Like, there, war is just horrible in itself, is a nightmare. So for him to say during this would be he sees something, it's crazy. Not crazy, but it's like, damn. But maybe that is what is keeping war and stuff going up, demons and evil spirits. So from there, he gets there in one part of Afghanistan, and then he gets sent to watch a post. And this post is just pretty much him by himself watching out for miles and miles, but it's over a graveyard. So in this graveyard, and the dude's from Chicago. I don't know how that's relevant, but that's what he said. He's from Chicago, and I'm from Chicago. So I was like, hey. But anyway, he was like, yeah, he's watching now. He was like, he was just a few hours into his shift, or his post watching. And one of the people who were there while he was recanting his story was his superior officer. And he was like that he um, trusted this dude or whatnot. And he's like, he was new, but he knew that he wanted him to be his second in command. So I guess he had dude there with him as credibility. I don't know. So from there, he was talking about how he was looking over the graveyard, then he sees something, and then he calls out to him on the walkie or something, and he's like, "Oh, I think I just saw some." And he was like, "Well, go out and like." Well, I guess he shoots out. Then he calls out, and then he goes out and he lights a flare. And then when he lights a flare, all of a sudden, this big, ugly, weird chupacabra, I don't know, looking thing comes at him and yokes him up and has glowing, real ugly eyes and screams at him. I don't think it talked. It just screams at him or something. And then he was like, he just was like staring into his soul, and he just was stuck and he couldn't breathe really, and he couldn't catch his breath, but he just was like stuck. And he was terrified. And then the thing just let him go. And then he ran to his nearest post to a superior officer, and he told them what happened. And then the dude was like, yeah, I never seen, he's like, he's seen all this other stuff, because earlier he mentioned like watching his friend die, and bombs exploding and all this stuff, and he was crying. He cried a lot in this episode. I mean, I know he was at war and stuff, but he was crying a lot anyway. So he's crying again, and he was talking about some the superior officer was talking about some, he believes him. He was like, he didn't question it at all. He was like, maybe you did see some shit. He's like, he believed that he thought whatever he thought he saw it. So from there, he was just like, he ended up seeing the thing again one time when he's like in his laying down sleep or something while he was still, I think, over there or whatnot. Or maybe it wasn't when he was there. Maybe it has to have been when he was there. Yeah, it was when he was there. And then from there, he was saying that he had now in present day, he re-enlisted to go back over to Afghanistan. I don't know how old this shit is. And he's going to be going out there. And he was like, he thinks that thing is out there waiting for him. I'm like, but why? But why though? It was weird. But yeah, that was like the one I liked the least. I mean, it was just like, what's the basis of it and everything? Maybe he just, I don't know. So yeah, y'all, that was the last of my installments of Haunted, Netflix original. This was a decent season. Last season was okay, and I'm like, okay, I don't be believing, like, it's not like you can prove that somebody saw a ghost or not unless like you there too or something, or you got it on tape. So these are people recounting their stories, but at least we have one that we actually could prove this season, because that wasn't really a ghost story. It was just a horrible story of pedophiles and fucked up religious cults. But yeah, so that is that, and I will see y'all later. I'm gonna probably, I don't know if I'm gonna post these all at once and flood y'all a little. I was gonna say flood your timeline, but that don't happen on YouTube. Excuse me. I'll see y'all later. I've been watching a bunch of scary stuff. I'm probably gonna keep binge watching scary stuff, and then I'll pop in and tell y'all about them, or ones that I like. And I'm not really like, a lot of scary stuff these days isn't scary, but just give stuff to give you a little jump or whatever. And I will see y'all later. Bye.